And we're going to get to you, my friend. So, Emily, I'm going to kick it over to you, get us all centered and aligned, and then we're going to have a great conversation with Clay today.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Take a moment to get into a completely comfortable position with your spine tall, and then go ahead and close down the eyes. Begin to scan your body, starting at the crown of your head, and then moving down to the soles of your feet. Making sure that every area of your body is relaxed and comfortable. Noticing the quality of your breath. Are you taking short, shallow breaths, or are you taking long, deeper breaths? So let's begin to take some cleansing breaths, allowing us to arrive here. Begin to breathe in through the nose and exhale out through the mouth. Releasing any tension in the jawline. Breathing in again through the nose and out through the mouth. Now go ahead and close your mouth and come into a normal breathing pattern just through the nose. Nature gives for the greater good of the whole. Hafiz, the poet, said, even after all of this time, the sun never says to the earth, you owe me. Look what happens with a love like that. It lights up the sky. Live today with a kinder impulse and open up your head and your heart to your deepest intelligence to align with your true nature. Take a full deep breath in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth, lips curling upwards into a smile, slowly opening back up your eyes. Welcome back to the present.
Emily, as always, great job, and thank you so much. And Clay, good morning. I think everyone got muted, Clay, so just if you don't mind, unmute. And welcome to the 6AMers. And I'm so grateful for the introduction we got, I believe, from Ryan out over there in Chicago. And I'm thrilled to have you on and welcome you to this great group of people. So.
Thanks, Skye. What a lively bunch. People ordering coffee and telling their story, and I'm excited to be here with you all.
I saw you join before 9 a.m. I'm like, oh God, guys, don't scare the guests. Don't scare the guests. Just Clay, if you don't mind, maybe give everyone a quick introduction of who you are and maybe a little background on like what you do. So
Yeah, sure. So my name's Clay Stelzer. Nice to meet you all. So I run a company called 1560. And 1560 is a network of coaches and trainers and facilitators. And we all wake up in the morning kind of to do one thing, to help people in our communities like you wake up in life. And when I say wake up in life, that means to begin to take responsibility for all the outcomes we're creating. And through that ownership, create something different if you're wanting something different. So we're going to get into a lot of weeds, I'm sure, about what that all means. Yeah. In a nutshell, I work with executives and their teams to help them maximize productivity, creativity, fun, and drop the drama, exhaustion, obligation that so many of us human beings like to get into.
Yeah, and incredible. I mean, give us more, like, how did you give us more about the background of forming the company and like maybe what you do before that as well.
Yeah, right. So I have a long history of being in marketing and innovation consulting. And I remember about 7 years ago, I was working for this really cool innovation consulting firm doing really cool work. I was working with Samsung to envision the future of headphones. And I was working with Frito-Lay to come up with the next product for the Doritos line. And so on paper, I was doing what I thought was something that would I don't know, people would think something about me. It's what I thought I always wanted. And when I got real honest with myself, I was anxious, I was empty, I was exhausted, kind of pissed off. And I just knew that, wait a minute, something's got to give here.
Yeah.
And so I went and I hired a coach myself to go on my own journey and begin to unpack, how am I creating what is in front of me here? Long story short, I learned a couple things. I learned that I'm good at simplifying complex ideas and finding patterns, but I also learned I don't really care about tortilla chips. What I really care about is supporting people to get what they want, and supporting people like myself that find themselves anxious and a little bit exhausted doing work that ultimately could be a whole lot more fun.
Yeah.
And so from there I pivoted, and it's funny, I came out of being coached to realize that maybe I could be a coach. This actually seems like it's right in alignment with my values, what I'm good at. So I went on this long journey and got trained and certified in a few different groups. And in a nutshell, I ended up creating a team coaching practice for Salesforce, the big software behemoth. And so for 4.5 years, I worked with each of the innovation teams around the globe to help them, again, to begin to wake up and see, where is the drama coming from? Where is the disconnection? And where is the blaming and the gossip and all of the things we know that tear teams apart? Where is that coming from? Can we wake up to it, resolve it, and then hopefully begin to create more connection and trust? So I did that for 4.5 years, and then this last April, I decided to leave Salesforce and put all of my eggs into this basket I call 1560 to work with other leaders and their teams.
Incredible. Yeah. And just so I always love connecting everyone in this, but like if you right now feel a little tired, exhausted, anxious, etc., just put the word me in the chat, because Clay, I think you're hitting these guys in a good way, right? I think we're going to blow this chat up. And so Clay, give us more background on the meaning of 1560. Like what's the meaning behind that? And then I really want to dive into tips, tricks, how do we help each other?
I think from Emily's meditation this morning, she may appreciate this, which I love the meditation. And I love that all of you are doing that. So many organizations aren't doing that. It's wonderful. So I knew what I wanted to do with this company, and I wanted a name that was representative, not just a fun name, not just a sexy name, but something that was actually really meaningful. And I learned that adults on average take one breath a minute. Did I do that right? No. That's not true. They take 15 breaths a minute. All right, that would be a unique individual. Adults on average take 15 breaths a minute. So in my world, what that means is we each have 15 wonderful opportunities every 60 seconds to wake up, to stop. And from where am I making the decisions right now? Am I doing this from a place of fear? Am I doing this from a place of curiosity, learning, ease, et cetera, et cetera? So 1560, everything we do in all the different types of programs, all the different types of clients we work with, that's sort of the underlying principle that threads everything together. It's beginning to stop, wake up, from where am I behaving?
Give us, so you said this a couple times, wake up. Give us more background on I love this visual. I'm sure a lot of people are forming their own visual. Give us more background on this concept of waking up, right? And coming at things, instead of coming at things from a fear, from a place of curiosity, learning, all these wonderful words that you're highlighting.
Yeah, right. So I do use the word a lot.
Great, by the way.
Words a lot. So here's the deal, everyone. We're human beings. And human beings were designed over thousands of years of evolution to be constantly scanning, looking for threats. We are designed to survive. And so before we even have a chance to think about what's going on in our world, we react because literally part of our brain is designed to put us into this reactive defensive posture. Yeah. And so a model I use that I learned from this group called the Conscious Leadership Group is that at any point in any day, in any moment, we're either what we say is above the line or below the line. When we're above the line, we're in an easeful place where we're just focused on learning and we're kind of in flow. But when we're below the line, we're reacting based on that automatic old lizard brain mechanism that's built in. And when we react, usually what's going on is there's a threat that we aren't even aware of to our security. And it might be literally our security, like
Yeah.
is my financial security at stake? Am I going to have the resources to take care of my kids, family, et cetera, et cetera? Second thing we're constantly scanning for unconsciously is our approval. I don't know about all you, but I like to be liked.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so if we sense that, oh my gosh, that person's going to think I'm not smart enough, attractive enough, funny enough, whatever it might be, we go below the line and react. And then the last is control. When we sense we don't have control, we react, we respond. And this happens before we think about it. It just happens, right? It's just how we're designed. And so, well, in my experience, that's where all the drama and exhaustion in our life stems from. When we're reacting from this perpetual state of being threatened, that's when we start blaming others or gossiping or checking out and numbing out. And so when I say waking up, to get to your question, most of what we do is we help people see, where is that coming from? Where is that checking out and exhaustion and blaming actually coming from? What's underneath it? What story are you telling yourself or narrative are you playing out that is leading you to react in a way that ultimately is going to take you further from the outcomes that you're actually wanting?
Yeah.
So more than anything, I mean, there's a lot of self-awareness that happens in our work. Like, oh my gosh, I just picked a fight with my wife because I was just scared that she wouldn't think I'm a good partner because I didn't do the dishes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so the picking a fight was just my natural way of defending feeling like a shitty partner.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now that I see that, I can now engage with her in a way that I wasn't engaging with her.
Yeah.
And so, I'm thinking about real estate and all of what you guys are doing, all the interesting, complex relationships you're in with clients. Like, I imagine this is happening for all of us all the time, for all of you.
All day, every day. I mean, all day, every day for these guys, I think. And real estate's, it's such an industry where we can create stories every minute we could create a story about why someone didn't write us back. Why did they unsubscribe from my newsletter? Why did they, right? It's like all day, every day. That's all we can do is create stories. And yeah, it's Candace landmark for sure. It's a great concept I learned from there. But I love this concept of waking up, right? And because that picking a fight over the dishes is a good example of being asleep and just reacting. And then, oh, wait, I feel like I'm not a worthy partner. That's a wake up. So what are some techniques or tricks that you might maybe coach to that allow people to stop themselves in the story creation, like stop the you know what I mean, the spin, for lack of a better word, and then say, okay, let me wake up,
So I love it. I mean, this just simply stopping. If you can't do that, then all the other things beyond that are, well, it won't occur to you to do any of them. So the first important thing is just simply to stop. And the first question I always ask my clients is, where are you right now, above or below the line? Now, before you can even ask that question, you have to realize, wait a minute, I should stop and ask myself that question. So a lot of what I do is I think about, and the more I do this, the better I am at it. I can just feel in my body, like if a client's asking me, can you meet at 7:00 at night or whatever it might be, and I feel like a constriction or contraction or an energy suck. Okay, that's a good indication that there's a reactiveness happening here. So I'm going to stop and find out what's really happening.
Yeah.
So I feel it in my body. Sometimes I feel it or I think about it in my mind, where it's like, oh, wait a minute, I'm noticing that I'm wanting to blame that person, or I'm really not liking that person. I'm wanting to, fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Just so beginning to take moments to just recognize what's happening in your mind and in your body. And I really think what helps that happen is just kind of what Emily was doing. All of us taking a minute each day just to get in touch with what's here now. The more we do that, if we have a daily practice of mindfulness and meditation, the quicker and more effective we are at recognizing something is up here. I can sense there's a disturbance in the force, per se.
Yeah. I love that concept. I just wrote it down, like above and below the line.
Yeah.
Like that's, and guys in the chat, feel free to throw in a story or a situation or anything in the chat that you can relate to where you create a story that you're below the line, dishes, clients, etc. Yeah, feel free to interact in that chat, guys. But Clay, give us some more examples. Like, all right, so I stop myself, right? I recognize, I ask a question above, below the line. What are indicators of being above the line? What are, like, you mentioned some, but just to really highlight this concept for people.
Yeah, great. So when I'm above the line, the most important thing to me is just learning. Like, oh, interesting. Like, how did this show up perfectly? What's for me to learn about this thing? My client just dropped our contract. What is there for me to know about this or to learn from this? So you're just in a place, and I know that some of you may be rolling your eyes like, yeah, right, if a client drops my contract, I may do something different than stop and ask myself, what's the gift in this for me? Yeah. But that's really what I'm asking you to do. So when we're above the line, we see things as gifts. We get curious about them. We notice flow in our bodies. And everything's just sort of easeful. Now, the unfortunate reality is 90% of us spend 90% of our time below the line.
Yeah. Let's go there. Let's go below the line. What's happening when we're below the line? So
when we're below the line, the most important thing to us is being right about whatever it is that we're thinking and feeling. And I'm going to prove to you that I'm right. Doesn't matter who is right, but I'm going to prove to you that I'm right. Like, there's nothing wrong with being right, but it's the needing to prove. That's a very clear indicator that we're below the line. When you're shoulding yourself, like, this should be different than it is. I should show up a certain way for my client. I shouldn't show up a certain way for my client. We get defensive when we receive feedback. Those are kind of the key indicators. And everything is serious. When we aren't able to play with the content in our lives and everything seems incredibly serious, that's another great indicator that we are below the line and somewhat of a threatened state.
Clay, I wish we could create a poster of this, like, to hang in everyone's room, or like a screenshot. Like, there should be like a visual that maybe you have it too. By the way.
Do. I'd be happy to get that to you.
If you can, that'd be great. I think I might put it up in my office and just be like, all right, before you have this conversation, are you above or below the line? Like, where are you? Because that, just so I know where you are, that'll help me understand how I can either play with you or ignore you. So, that's so good. Give us more nugget. This is so awesome. I wish everyone could hear this. Luckily we have a lot of people on this call, but I'm going to try to make this one public, guys, because let's actually go let's dig into that concept, Clay, because you mentioned that and I meant to write it down. Go deeper about, like, when we're shoulding, like, it's right.
So, especially in a service industry like all of you are in, I'm in a service industry too. Oftentimes we believe that we should show up a certain way for our clients. If our client says, hey, I'd like to meet at 7 or 8 at night, oftentimes there's a part of us that says, oh shit, I don't really want to do that, but I should do that. Right? And so when we should ourselves and we say yes to something we're a no to, usually we show up in that relationship with resentment. We feel an obligation. And the quality of the connection we have with that client is just not going to be it's certainly not going to be you at your best.
Yeah.
And so what I'm doing by saying yes, because I believe I should say yes, is I'm engaging in a relationship or a connection that likely won't turn out the way that I want it to.
Yeah.
The other option to that is, if I'm awake to that before I say yes, like, oh, wait a minute, I just noticed there was an energy leak here. There's something about saying yes to that doesn't feel right to me. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk with my client and say, typically my hours are X to Y.
Yep.
And then you can decide with that client, am I willing to meet once and then do them a favor and share that these are what my boundaries might be? So next time we're not going to do that. Or I could simply say, at 7 o'clock, you're not going to get the best of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, would you be willing to meet at a certain time?
Yeah.
So, or, a time that's within my wheelhouse per se, or my
High
where I
energy.
like
Yeah.
to meet with
Yeah.
clients. So when we have the ability to stop, notice, wait a minute, I'm not a yes to this thing. My reactive state is saying no, but you should do that. Usually because there's fear again of what are they going to think of me if I say no, approval. Security, I'm not going to get the commission check if I say no.
Yeah.
Control, I don't know what they're going to do. So
Yeah.
those are the three things: security, control, approval. Those things are what show up and have us saying yes when we mean no. But again, once we can see that in real time and pause, usually from a place of presence, we can negotiate an agreement or some way forward that serves us and the other party in a better way rather than just reacting.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where the drama in our life starts and stops around shoulding.
Mm. So good. And those three words, I think, are the three words that everyone should try to write down or remember, right? Security, control, approval.
Yeah,
Like those are if you are doing something because of these three things, you're not going to be operating at your highest level. So that's,
exactly.
oh, so good. So, so now let's pretend I'm a coaching client of yours and like, all right, now I'm recognizing that I got to wake up. I recognize like those three concepts, right? Approval, control, security, in effect. But now how do I push myself to operate, in this above the line way? Like what are now techniques that we can make sure we are implementing every day in it so we have consistency above the line versus
Yeah.
below the line?
Great. So first step was simply to locate ourselves. Second step, and there's kind of a four-step process. First is locate, which we just talked about. Am I above or below the line? Second is to explore. How did I get here? Which is security, control, approval. Like, what's the thing that's driving me? What's the threat that's here? Now, once we understand that, we can begin to see, how am I reacting? Like, what are the behaviors I'm engaging in from that place of below the line, being scared of losing security, control, and approval? I'm blaming, I'm checking out, I'm being passive aggressive. So the next thing I want people to do is begin to own it. Now, that doesn't mean shame yourself for all of that, but like, oh my gosh, there's a part of me that's just so scared of being seen as not a team player. And so what I'm doing, because I'm a human being, is just blaming them for it all.
Yeah.
And so I have people begin to own it and take responsibility. And just doing that shifts to looking here versus looking there, and there. So now that I have some ownership over what I'm creating, the next step, the third step, is acceptance. Oh my gosh, can I just in this moment take a breath of acceptance, because there's a part of me that's just scared of that person thinking I'm not a team player or a
Yeah.
great agent or realtor or whatever it might be. And we just want to find something here that we can accept with our eyes wide open. There's just a part of me that was scared, and I'm designed to react this way.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. So good.
Yeah. And so I just saw someone write internal family systems. I love that stuff. Anyway, we can talk about that on the next one.
That might be a whole month of conversation.
Yeah, right. But here's my experience with this. Most people want to just say, all right, enough with the acceptance, fluffy stuff. Just tell me, how do I do something different?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm awake. I see what I'm doing. What's my way forward?
Yeah.
In my experience, especially if you're trying to break patterns that have been consistent for a little while, like saying yes when you mean no, we have to. So a lot of people say it's really hard to change what you're not willing to first accept.
Mm.
And so just simply going through this third step and getting in touch with the part that's scared, which probably learned a long time ago that we have to say yes or else.
Yeah.
Once I can offer myself the acceptance, then new avenues and ways forward just seem to emerge. Just the act of acceptance often shifts us from above the line from below the line to above the line.
Yeah.
And the fourth step in the process is to determine from this place of understanding and maybe even some acceptance, what am I willing to do differently now?
Mm.
And I said the word willing, which is different than the word wanting. Lots of us want to do all kinds of things different, but what we teach our clients is to get clear on what are you actually willing to do. You may want to drop the client or you may want to do whatever it
Yeah.
is, but what are you actually willing to do? So, would you be willing to renegotiate with your client
Yeah.
and reveal all of what's happening, or
Yeah.
at least as much of what's happening for them to understand you so you can be more connected with them? Are you willing to own your part in the exhaustion that you're creating for yourself?
Mm.
Are you willing to see how your story that you're running may not be true, or in fact, the opposite of that story may be equally as true?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the fourth step is after you have some acceptance, begin to see what you'd be willing to do differently. How might I be willing to see the world differently and choose differently? And that is the way to, in my experience, create all kinds of outcomes that are more energetically whole in us, dropping the drama and the resentment and the exhaustion and all the things that bind most of us.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the word willing versus wanting as well, right? And it's because I think wanting, it's like, yeah, we all want to do X, Y, Z or ABC, whatever it might be, but what are we willing to do, right? I want to lose weight, but you know what? I'm not willing to give up X. I don't know. I'm just trying to. I'm trying to give like a really easy example, but that's a really, really powerful concept to get
Yeah.
into. What am I willing to do versus what am I wanting to do?
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, I want $1 million, but am I willing to lead generate 3 hours a day to get there or whatever, right? It's like, all right, that's different. It's a different mindset in
And
there.
gosh, when I think about realtors, like what a fun question to explore. Like, what am I willing to do around business development?
Yeah, yeah.
And 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 how am I kidding myself
Mm,
around
mm,
what I'm willing to do? Getting really crystal clear about what am I actually willing to do. And another question that's really fun, I imagine, for realtors is getting clear on what am I committed to right now?
yeah,
Meaning, most people, when they think of the word committed, they think what they're wanting. I'm committed to making $1 million by the end of the year or whatever it is.
yeah, yeah,
But in my mind, what you're actually committed to is the outcome. So, gosh, I'm committed to saying I want $1 million, but going and playing pickleball 3 hours a day. That's
yeah,
actually what I'm committed to. Like, what are the things that you're actually doing now?
yeah, yeah,
That's the taking responsibility part of what we do.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm committed to, I don't know, working 2 hours when I said I wanted to work 4 hours in
yeah,
business development, lead generation, whatever it might be.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So powerful. What a concept that's coming up in my mind too is this concept. You mentioned the word shame, and I think it's a really, we read Brene Brown, like the gifts of imperfection, and I love diving into this concept because of the fact that I think we, as especially like social media, like there's so many messages designed to make us feel this shame. Even this conversation in and of itself, right? Like, oh my God, I'm operating below the line. Like it's such an easy shame trap to
Yeah.
fall into. Like, oh, I'm horrible. I'm below the line again. Oh, I'm a horrible person. I'm below the line, right? Like I realize we're even setting up a lot of shame traps for people in this conversation, as powerful as it is. How do you coach people around not feeling shameful? Hey, we're human. We're gonna be below the line sometimes, right? Like we're gonna react like, why did you leave the dishes in the sink? It's gonna happen. How do you coach people around not getting caught up in the shame cycle, right? Of like, hey, just we're below the line. It's okay.
Yeah.
I reacted, you
So
know?
the way that I like to approach shame with folks, well, first of all, is to normalize it.
Mm,
And if we can really get through that waking up process, like, of course you're doing whatever it is you're doing because there's a part of you that just wants approval from your client.
yeah,
Makes perfect sense to me why you would say yes when you mean no. So, like, I help people really understand, and not just that, but there's benefits you're getting. When we're below the line and acting in ways that may take us astray, there's always good reason for it. There's always benefits. So, by saying yes to a client when I really mean no, the benefit I might be getting is a sense of security.
yeah,
Or the benefit I may be getting is I get to feel like a hero, like I took care of my client.
Yeah.
Or there's always a benefit. There's always something we're getting when we make decisions that aren't in alignment here. And so I like to help people understand, like, what are you getting? Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
see that you're not happy with what you're creating and how you're acting. Great. So let's just get clear about all of what you're getting so then we can just love all of that and just take a breath of acceptance that of course you're doing that. You're getting all these benefits. You get to feel like a hero. Yeah, it may not be the path you want to be on next week.
Yeah.
It makes sense why you're on the path now.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. Uh, the I mean, so many other thoughts are coming to my mind. I'm trying to think of like this concept of family that we brought up, right? And our upbringing influences us so much of like how we react and how we process everything. How do you coach people on exploring their family background in a healthy and not a like, oh my God, my mom should have done this, or right, there you go, should, like,
Yeah,
this
right.
should have been different, like it is what it is. Like how do we go about unpacking our family background in a healthy and productive way and curiosity way, not in a shameful, regretful, woe is me victim way?
Yeah. So we have different versions of ourselves that we show up in different contexts. We probably have a realtor version of ourselves. It's just a little bit of a different flavor of who we are. Maybe different than how we show up with our families, maybe different than how we show up with our friends.
Sure.
And most of those personas that we play are very much influenced by our past. So right now, I'm probably playing this like public speaker, Coach Clay persona.
Yeah.
And this
You're playing it
persona,
really well, Clay. Just you're playing it very well. So
yeah, and here's what I know about this persona. I know that when I was really, really young, the only way I could get my dad to pay attention to me is if I was being uniquely in tune with what he was wanting, saying things that I knew would make him laugh. And so I learned a long time ago as a kid that for me to be accepted in the world, I need to be uniquely in tune with people and I need to be a certain way for them. And so we grow up with those strategies. They're quite effective and helpful for us when we're young. Very helpful for me to engage with my dad in a way that I could feel loved and accepted. But as we get to be adults, sometimes those personas or those patterns that we're playing can actually create disconnect with people. And so for me, it's just being aware of what it is. So I can know, oh yeah, I'm playing, it's like Coach Clay is here right now trying to like be smart and like, wow people with my knowledge. That's just part of my history.
yeah.
I don't need to beat up on my dad about it or myself about it or whatever, but just can I just acknowledge that that's just the part I'm playing right now?
Yeah.
And of course I'm playing that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. And once again, I think it's so critical to start to unpack those like backgrounds, right? And I think the key concept you keep on, like it goes back to the beginning of the conversation, waking up.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like, oh yeah, I'm awake now. Okay. I'm not asleep. I'm not sleepwalking through life. And that's, I think, the concept that I'm just trying to continue to go back to. And I love just thinking about today, like making sure you're awake today. Right.
Yeah, just stop. If I have one piece of advice to all of you, just the simplest thing you could do, there's different apps. One of them is called Mind Jogger. You can get on your phone. It'll just randomly send you a notification and you can write in there whatever question you want your phone to ask you. And one question might be where are you right now? Above the line or below the line?
Yeah.
So just getting off the hamster wheel. We're designed to be on the hamster wheel. Go, 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 go. But if you have some mechanism and pick something that works for you, just to stop yourself and ask, am I being driven from below the line from this threatened, fearful state, or am I above the line in an easeful state? And just that practice in and of itself, if you do nothing else, can be actually quite transformational.
Love it. So Emily, what questions? I've been asking all the questions. So I know this is right up your alley. Like what's coming to your mind? And what questions do you have for Clay?
Sure. Clay, I'm curious, how do you work with clients when they have big obstacles in their way? Is it something, do you use those obstacles as part of the journey, as part of the path, as part of the solution? How do you help people? Let's say let's just put it into terms of an agent. Let's say you're meeting with an agent whose big obstacle right now is fear of not succeeding this year because of lack of inventory. That's the obstacle. How would you coach that agent?
Yeah. So I'd probably go through those first four steps.
Uh-huh.
I'd ask them, from where are you reacting right now? So are you in this threatened state? Probably. There's not enough inventory. There's not enough. That's a clear indicator that someone is in this below the line state.
Yeah.
And when you believe that there's not enough, how are you reacting? What are you doing? Are you probably scurrying around, oh shit, there's not enough inventory, not enough inventory? What are you creating for yourself and for the people around you when you're in that state?
Hmm.
Can we begin to take responsibility for the franticness? Because that franticness actually is keeping you out of your creative best to manifest something that's going to be a little bit more in line with what you're wanting. And then you go through the acceptance and then determine what are you willing to do differently. But something that I'm really wanting to mention around that, though, is a lot of what we do, and it's really important, we don't generate. So there's this idea of content in our lives, like there's not enough inventory. And then there's the context in which we are engaging with the content. So generally, we hear about the content and we understand it and try to like get the details, but we're more interested in how are you being with the content? From where are you engaging with it? Because that's where any of the suffering is coming from. It's not actually the lack of inventory, it's the fear-based pattern that you're playing with around the lack of inventory.
Hmm. Yeah, that's so fascinating. Thank you for that. I think that as we think about that, as we're going into 2022 and our inventory, that is one of the franticness pieces in real estate. So thank you.
Yeah.
I love that too, Emily, because it plays into really what we're trying to strive at Compass, right? Is like, no, you create your future, not, the inventory situation is the facts of today, but that doesn't need to define the future tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? You get to define the future tomorrow.
A real common way to be when the world isn't showing up a certain way for us, we kind of get into this victim posture.
Mhm.
So basically what we're doing is we're giving all of our power away to the world around us. And basically saying and believing in ourselves, I can't be okay unless there's more inventory. Unless the world shows up a certain way, I just can't be a happy person. That's a common, natural way. We're designed to do that. And I believe we can shift that from being a victim in the situation to becoming a creator and manifesting something different. And that can take lots of different shapes and forms.
Yeah. Give us one. Let's go down that road a little bit, Clay, just as we get towards the end here. Like, what is one shape that or form that could take, the manifestation, right? Or not being a victim, right? Give us how that looks.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a good example. Let's try to stick with this real estate thing. There's not enough inventory. So I can bitch, moan, and complain about it, like most of us do, exhausting ourselves and the people around us. That's one way. That's the victim piece. And then the creator piece might be, well, what's most important to me? What am I valuing right now? How do I want to be in my life? And if there's not enough inventory, well, where one door closes, another opens. Like, if there's not enough inventory here, well, what's over here?
Yeah.
And so you can fundamentally begin to, okay, the current is running the different way on the river now. So now what do I have here? Just being, once you can be with the fear and let it surpass, now I'm able to see the world as a playing field, as a chessboard, that I can make different moves. And there's probably lots of different ways. I mean, the most fundamental way is you could be like, I'm exhausted and I'm not sure real estate is the right thing for me. Yeah. And in fact, I've been always wanting to do X, Y, and Z. Now, I'm not telling you how to quit your jobs, and I don't think you should quit your jobs and whatever else. But at least to begin to open up the possibility of Today is Tuesday and I'm at choice.
Yeah.
I can choose what I do next hour.
Yeah.
And the choices can be any number of choices.
So good. So good. There's so many great pieces of this interview that I guarantee you've really had a lot of impact today. Um, and Emily, we've gotten a little away from our 6 at 6, but I think this would be a really good. So Clay, we sort of end our interviews usually. I'll ask one final question, but then Emily, I wanted to tee you up to get into the 6 at 6. So Clay, if you had one piece, last question for me, and then we're going to give it to Emily. We have 6 rapid fire fun questions. A concept I think you hinted around, but I want to really bring to the surface is having fun, right? And playing. And how do you coach people around having fun and playing within this like really serious thing we call life? Because you highlighted, you hinted at it a couple of times, and I think I share a commonality with you in that.
Yeah.
But how do you coach people how to like, let's have fun and make life playful rather than make it this like serious, like grind,
So
like
usually what I do is kind of what you were just doing. I have them embrace the fear and the anger or whatever might be there, and I ask them to make it bigger. Like, really, that's as fearful as you are? That you can't make that bigger? Like, I have them actually amplify whatever the fear is so big that it actually we're left with nothing but the ability to laugh at ourselves.
yeah.
Like, I want to make it all bigger, and that's part of the waking up process, so we can see, oh my gosh, look at what I'm doing right now, because there's a part of me that's believing there isn't enough.
Yeah.
So that's one way, and there's lots of ways into play, but a really great fun one is to make whatever we're experiencing bigger.
I love that. It's so good. So we could keep talking for a long time, but I know I got to get these guys off on their day, and I'm sure you have a lot to do too, Clay. But
I do have an offer for everyone.
great.
If you're interested in any of this stuff, March 22nd, I'm running a 3-hour deep dive primer into this, and I'm happy to throw, if you're on this call, a free pass to join the session.
It's amazing.
Yes.
It's an introduction to conscious leadership, which is basically what I'm talking about. My website is 1560.com. So numbers 15 and then 60 spelled out. And maybe Emily and Skye can send this out in an email.
Yeah. If you email to me, I'll make sure I email it out to everyone as well as post it. So for
Great.
sure.
I'll give you a free code, and then you can come and you can really dive into this stuff. And basically, 3/4 of the workshop, everyone is working through a real life issue. So you're experiencing the benefits of this stuff in real time.
So cool. Really cool. And hey, I'm really grateful for you. And I appreciate Ryan introducing us. And definitely, I really loved everything. Most of the time we keep these interviews, not public, like we just share them within our group, but I'll give everyone access to this. I think it's the kind of thing, if you have kids or team members, like this is one that people should hear for sure. So
Yeah, cool.
awesome.
Thank you so much for having me. How fun to be. I mean, there's so many of this.
Cool.
It's really great.
Yeah, well, let's end on a little fun. Emily, I'm going to kick it over to you to end us with our 6 at 6. So.
Well, Clay, thank you so much. What a wonderful offering to give us 3 hours of conscious leadership coaching too. We really appreciate it. The rapid 6 at 6 is just 6 rapid fire questions coming at you, and you get to answer them any way you would like. When we get to know you a little bit better. So Clay, how would you describe your most perfect day?
Friends, a cigar, maybe some whiskey, campfire.
Great answer. All right, Clay, if you could time travel to one place in time, you could either go into the future or into the past in a specific location. Where and when would you go?
I'd probably go the summer of 1969, the whole like hippie revolution. I'm totally curious about what that was like.
I love it.
Very cool.
What is one thing that you would love to master?
Self-compassion.
That's a wonderful one. Is there a book or a movie that you go back to time and time again?
Yeah, it's basically so the 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership.
Yes.
Written by Jim Duthmer, Diana Chapman. A lot of what you heard me say today comes from that book.
I love that book. Great one. All right, Clay, this is my favorite question. Who was your first celebrity childhood crush?
Oh my gosh. Elizabeth Shue, the Karate Kid.
Oh,
Oh my God.
totally.
We've
Yes.
gotten that response. I gotta say, it's like we've gotten that response. It's sort of there's a 1 out of 3 chance if you're a certain age range, we're gonna get that.
I don't know that she's going to mean much to all of you, but anyway.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love her.
no, we're good.
All
So,
right.
well, Clay, that
Hey,
was
one more
incredible.
question. We have one more question. Final and last question, Clay. What is the first thing you're going to do after this call?
Go have some coffee.
Nice.
Amen to
But Clay, great interview. I love interviews where I'm learning myself, and I learned so much today, and it really had a lot of impact on me personally, and I know it had a lot of impact on all the people on this call as well. So really,
So
really,
much for having me. It was terrific. Be well,
yeah, I'm so
everybody.
grateful for you. And guys, we will definitely facilitate the information on the free session on the 22nd, and just it's really cool. I can't wait. So awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Clay. And guys, make sure you were leaning in. I'll make sure we share all Third Thursday information again. If you need to RSVP for any events, make sure you're doing any RSVPs. And looking forward to around the country, all of us getting together on Thursday, in person outside of the Zoom call as well. So awesome, guys.